Hyannisport, Massachusetts is where the Kennedy family has vacationed for generations. Now a museum there is showing an exhibit from the summer of 1963, months before President John F. Kennedy's assassination. In Washington, Bill Plant is aboard the Sequoia, one of the yachts used by Kennedy. Bill, good morning.
Well, good morning, Anthony. You know, President Kennedy loved being on the water, and every summer the Kennedy family went to Cape Cod. They enjoyed their summers at Hyannisport, Massachusetts, and this summer there's a look at the 50-year anniversary, the last summer that the president spent in Hyannisport.
They were our neighbors. They were just the Kennedys up the street.
That's how longtime residents of Hyannis remember the 35th president and his extended family. But everybody knew they weren't just the neighbors up the street.
You know, but it's Cape Cod, so they just were.
This sprawling clapboard house in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, was the summer home of Ambassador Joseph F. Kennedy, his wife Rose, and their 9 children.
So now my wife and I prepare for a new administration and for a new baby. Thank you.
But following JFK's victory speech in Hyannis, the family's summer hideaway was on the national map.
The Kennedys exploded on the scene, and Hyannisport became a place that everybody wanted to see. The political pros knew to start promoting this compound. And we're getting all these personal shots of a president on the beach, on the boat, with his kids playing touch football. It was the beginning of part of the packaging of being president, is to allow your personal life to be part of a narrative.
50 years after his death, that narrative is especially poignant in June, July, and August of 1963, JFK's last summer on the Cape. The subject of this show at the John F. Kennedy Museum in Hyannis.
This is fun. This is one of my favorites. The president would come home from D.C. on the weekends, and the kids would all rush out to greet him, and he would load them onto this golf cart and go tearing over the grass.
It looks like everybody's ideal summer.
There was much joy that summer.
Joy and then sorrow. In early August, Jackie Kennedy gave birth to a son who died 3 days later. The family came here to heal. Less than a month later, Kennedy gave a seminal interview to Walter Cronkite of CBS News on the lawn of the compound.
Cronkite got Kennedy to talk about that he probably wasn't going to get us committed to Vietnam with our troops.
In the final analysis, it's their war. They're the ones who have to win it or lose it.
But anybody who says that Vietnam was Lyndon Johnson wars, not John F. Kennedy's war, goes back to this Cronkite interview.
It was also the last time JFK would see his father Joe, who had suffered a stroke 2 years earlier. Of course, at that time, he was incapacitated.
Which led a few weeks later to one of, I think, the most evocative photographs in the exhibit, and that is the president leaning over on the deck of the compound house and kissing his father on the forehead. And that was the last time the two saw one another, and I'm certain that the president was thinking, we'll lose him soon, when in fact the reverse happened.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Everybody grieved in America the death of Kennedy. The world grieved, but one could say the people of Cape Cod maybe grieved more. They had known John Kennedy for years. He had come and gone, and they remembered him when he was a little boy.
Still a vivid memory in this place which moved him so deeply, as he put it in his own words.
To know again the power of the sea and the master who rules over it and all of us.
John F. Kennedy loved the sea, and one of the presidential yachts was always stationed at Cape Cod from late May until sometime in September. And this was one of them, the Sequoia. He spent time on this, and in fact, he spent in the salon of this ship, he had a birthday party in May of '63, his last birthday, leading into that final summer. Anthony, Nora, Gail.
Bill Plant, thank you, Bill.
The memories that brings back, right? Looking at those pictures. Incredible.
They're amazing pictures, and that's the thing about that administration. The photographs of it are just stunning, and in the end, of course, quite heartbreaking.
Incredibly heartbreaking. A treasure that we get to see them, though.